hope that motivation went down well with you as well. We did our song of the day this morning that was centered on Sarkodie featuring Burna Boy and AKA, who has been in the conversation over the weekend with regard to what happened. It's the month of love, so that song also ties in because that song is titled Someone Else. It ties into Special Someone, because it ties into the month of love as well. I'm very sure you out there have some special someone that you wanna, dedicate this special month to, or people you want to dedicate this special month to. But I'm very sure in the hearts of AK's family, friends, loved ones as well, of course, he's a truly special someone, as his death was reported over the weekend, a murder case now that is gotten to. But anyways, that also raises a very big conversation around the fact that, when we see our influencers, especially musicians, blow up to become who they are through their music, through their art, it also means now we have to turn a key eye, I can say, to the business aspect of their team. Now, this morning on the show, we're talking about team management and the role of recruiting, talent management, I beg your pardon, and the role of recruitment, when it comes to such jobs, if I can say. We've seen a lot of artists. Well, let's use our settings in Ghana here. We've seen a lot of artists, who have blown up, and we see the kind of people around them. Sometimes we beg to ask how or what processes they go through in recruiting some of these people that they engage. Some you see a lot of friends, boys hanging around them. Are these boys professionals in the things they do? We see road managers, we see social media managers, we see PR specialists around. But these are slots available, I can say, for the roles that are supposed to be played around such talents. But the question is that are the people that they hire fit to manage these roles? We're looking at, like I said, business managers, we're looking at road managers, social media managers, PR specialists, security, which is at the top of the chain this morning on our conversation with regards to, of course, what happened to AKA, the late AKA. We'll be looking at this heavily this morning. Later on, as we'll be joined by you'll be joined by, let me just put this rightly, a cybersecurity engineering and lead red team specialist. His name is Blay Abu Safian. He'll be joining us to have a conversation. He's also the founder of Inventec Global, an international offensive security and he's an international offensive security speaker and trainer who joins us later on the show as well to talk about security heavily into the aspects of which we are, of course, talent management. Now, in various cases, guys, we've seen, usually in the political space is where we heavily see security play a key role and how they do their things, and we see all kinds of protocol around. But does this dovetail into our space? And when I say our space, I'm talking entertainment. I'm talking, especially now we are heavily focused on musicians, and we see how they roll in their numbers. How often do we see some of these talents, heavily secured, if I can say, when they are moving around? And like we also mentioned, the other roles that people play with regards to making sure that imaging of the artists, of the talents looks good. Do they have the right professionals? We want to understand some of the processes that they are supposed to go through in hiring people to play key roles in them, as well as separating it from when you have to pay back via good relationship to the people who have helped you become who you are, because there was this guy who's rode with you all through. And I'm very sure a lot of artists have fallen victims to this. A lot of people who they used to roll with have now become their road managers and are learning on the job as you go. PAs, and you name them. Sometimes you try and get in touch with some artists and it's so difficult because the people who are managing them possibly don't have any professional role in how people I beg your pardon. Well, I'm just losing my chain of thought here. But let's go into our conversation. So, guys, I think you have a fair idea of where we are getting to with regards to, and I'm very sure we all have our personal experiences on how we've engaged, one or two talents, and we've been part of one or two talents teams, and internally understood how some of these things run. I don't know if Cyril, we should start off with you, or Miss G, or Olele. You might want to share some experiences on what you have experienced in working with some talents, especially when you have been called to play certain roles, and which role you possibly played. Maybe Miss G, if we can start off with you.
Um, Basically, my role every time is to get an interview. Most often it's just to get an interview from these people, and sometimes there's protocol. So the protocol, like you're saying, is an artist manager. That's if you don't have a personal relationship with the person, if you're not able to send them a private message and get a response from them. Basically it is going through whoever they tell you is their connect. Sometimes it's just somebody who knows the artist, or another presenter who has spoken to the artist and has contact to them. Some artists, you get direct contact with them or to them, depending on the relationship, and again, depending on their level of stardom or how open they are to receive others. Some people would say, go through this person, go through that person, book per maybe like a week, or it's too close. Sometimes some people even they say within a week is close. Now, let's talk about when you have the privilege to speak to these people. Then the conversation now becomes what is the question? Who are you coming with? Where are we having the interview? Who are you coming with? Are you going to have it in your studio? As if it's your studio, then they are sure that you are taking charge of their safety, because your studio is supposed to be safe for them. But still, they come with their numbers. Some people come with an entourage, and you say, oh, you can only allow a person into the studio. And then they say, oh, no, we want to allow another person with them, because they might need most often is their manager. They might need an assist, or they want to pick up something, they want to, so most often when you the A-listers, they enter your studio with an additional person. Some of them will agree that this person stays in production and monitors whatever is going on. And these people are mostly the ones, you don't know their level of qualification. So I don't want to say they are not the real professionals. Most of them, as we've seen in the past, are people's friends, people they started with. We've even heard of situation where people have sacked people because they say they've outgrown, their style of management, and they don't want to have to be managed by friends anymore, because they're looking at the business side of things. I think the way that our business is structured, the experience I've had, is because when you start with who is available, who is buying into your vision, or who is buying into your dream. So the person might not necessarily be a professional. However, depends on how big you grow, you decide to bring in professionals. But again, the emotions, I want to think that the reason some people still allow the same team, the same friends, and expect that they grow with you is because people feel they are attached, and they have invested their time when you were nobody, and now you become somebody, and you want to let them go. So you still would have artists having friends and family as part of management, but the people who have learned to do it well have learned also to add maybe a professional security in, well, that's what it looks like. It might be, sometimes they say it's some gym instructor who has built muscles and all of that. But again, when you encounter them, you realize that they try as much as possible to shield them, either from the disrespect they might get, or well, I don't think the fans are set out to disrespect them. I think, but they sometimes protect them from having too many people around them, decide on who gets the opportunity to speak to them. And you have to go through these people before
I
you
think
can
that
get
this,
an
for
interview.
this conversation to be sweeter, we would have to, at a point in time, get very blunt with the types of teams that we've seen with some of our, since we are centered on music, some of our artists, and that's where we can really get a clear idea of what kind of engagements we've had, seen, and speak from facts and speak from perspective.
If only they won't get offended.
So I think then we can properly make sound judgments on, because whilst we were speaking, one of the other things that also crossed my mind was the fact that and I don't know, maybe you might come from a business angle as well, Cyril, that the business of doing music is never guaranteed that you're going to make returns. So the revenue streams become quite funny And to engage a professional PR person, it means you have to put the person on a salary of not less than 7 to 10K
Yeah.
and a month. And the question is that would you be able to sustain how much are
what
you
revenue?
making yourself?
So that's how come we have
You know,
family and
so
friends.
family and friends step in now to but that also goes to play that how are you the talent treating your craft as a business? Is it
A lot of
you know,
talents don't even know their businesses yet.
Exactly, you know. So the question is, at what point in time does your crafts or your passion turn into a business? You know, because
When
at a
you
point in
begin to
time
see
you
money
might.
that you can reinvest, I presume, because if I don't have money, so my uncle is helping me with maybe 1,000 CDs a month to go to the studio to record. How much is the producer even taking for his studio session? You might have an idea of how much did it take. You know, how much is the beats costing me, that I would have the opportunity to say, oh, I want to hire a PR or even pay media, you know. Until, for me, I believe that until that 1,000 cities that my uncle is giving me to go to the studio, if it even is enough, until I'm beginning to get 1,005, then I'll think of what to do with the 500. Am I supposed to concentrate on my looks or go hire a professional? If I get 2,000, then I'm adding something on. If I get 3,000, then I'm building, oh, I have 3,000 now. What do we look at? But you see, also the problem is that sometimes people go for loans. These uncles or whoever family members are loaning these monies, or they're lending it to these people. So when they begin to make money, they are now paying back. And by the time they finish paying back, they will now have to look for more money to now begin to build a team. So it's still going to be who is with me, because there's no money. And if you look through from top to bottom, some people have sacked some people because of reasons like this. Because I said that with you, it was a plaything. Oh, me, I believe in your craft, so you're the only person available. We're doing it together, and you're making 1,000. So G200 or 1,000. But you who is making 200, he's expecting that you also bring in some revenue. And when you're not bringing anything, he begins to make 5,000. So okay, let me go and pay somebody 2,000. That will bring me 10,000. And sometimes they don't even move because they don't want the person who was receiving 200 to get offended. And we've seen too many cases.
It's very difficult to. I mean, okay, not difficult. It's a fine line between when to start engaging professionals and when to manage what you have. You know, because let me take it. I'm not in his team, so I can't speak for him. But from the outside, I feel maybe a team like Sarkodie. I think he has the core team that he rolls with, but there are professionals at the back end, you know, outside the core team. You see like Angel, DJ Mensa, Black Nana, you know, who he rolls with. I'm sure there are other teams outside that engage in professional business
because now he can afford it.
Because he can afford it, exactly. So let's take an artist that just blew out, and that's what I'm saying. And let me drill down and use certain names that are you know, mentioning. So maybe an artist like Lastmid, he just popped up onto the scene, you know, with his hit song Friday Night. Yeah. We've seen him playing a lot of shows. We can only assume that maybe quite a number of them have paid something. At what point in time does he cross over into, okay, now I am Lastmid, the very popular Ghanaian artist. I've got a big hit. Is it now time for me to start having conversations with? He may have done that already. I mean, I'm just using as an example. You know. When do I start engaging someone professionally to start looking into my finances, my management? You know, how do I recruit the people? How do I sustain working with them? Would it be fair to an artist like him who has just, you know, popped onto the scene with a hit song, and say that he must if you go what I'm driving at?
Yeah.
When does he cross the line? And if he's crossing, how does he even cross it?
We have a bad habit of making the music brand only relevant after it has what we refer to as a hit, right? So before that hit, a lot is ad hoc, freestyle. We're just doing whatever. It's usually after the hit, quote unquote, that okay, now we get shows, now people are calling us up, what do you do? And you realize that you've probably spent 3-4 years with the same team of guys. And now that things look like they're going to be better, it's very difficult to say, guys, back off, let me go and get professional strangers to come and fill your spots. So we have a lot of these people growing with our
Professional
biggest.
strangers.
Yeah, because the person is a professional, right? But of course, is a stranger to your clique. So imagine you and I roll for 5 years, and then we get a big hit. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, Jay, you they try you, but let me get Olele, who I don't know from anywhere, because PR. Relationships will get, sour. So
So let's look at the qualifications. I mean, we'll come to the A-list artists as well and drill into their teams. I'm using the word drill a lot, but what qualifies somebody as the various roles? Business manager of a talent, of a musician. What qualifies a person to become? What skills must a person carry to be identified or as a professional business manager for a talent?
Two very keen things. Extensive reach into the music business network. And then understanding of the revenue points within the music business. The person needs to be able to pick a phone call, 1 call, 2 calls, Sony's on the line, 3 calls, 4 calls, 3 music interview done. The sponsorship. He knows this brand manager. He understands what this company's goal is for the year. He understands what that company is trying to achieve and how we need to change the music so he can make a pitch to that. The person needs to understand that music money doesn't just come from stage performances and one-time fees.
So this is a business manager.
This is a business person.
This is not a guy, a business
person who has
this is a guy who's
decided
going to be
manage.
walking around with you, holding your hand.
No. Might not even see you.
So this is the point where a lot of artists get it wrong. That some expectations around the BM role, which is a business manager role, is I must be with you.
Yeah.
I must be seen.
No. They are used to yes men.
They
are used to yes men.
Yeah, seen with you, and that's also sometimes when that doesn't happen, then the artist might feel like, what's this guy doing for me? But this person, like you're describing, is a visionary.
Yeah.
The guy who sits back and, like you say, makes calls, sees, creates direction, not necessarily even puts in investment.
But it's not rather the case. It's not rather the case when these people do not have what it takes to afford a business manager. They tend to think that their managers, the road one, or now they say they have road manager and I don't know the difference, but there's a road manager and there's a manager, the artist manager itself.
There's always value to leverage.
So they expect that these are the people. Whilst we don't have money to get a BM, you are the people who should go bring in money, and that's why sometimes they put percentage to it. So the business you bring in gets you a certain percentage. Also, maybe because they think that these people know the terrain of the business, they are able to, go to businesses, say, come to 3 Music and say, this is a pitch from us to you. We want to do this and all of that. And as compared to a BM who might not necessarily, and that is not always the case, who might not necessarily know the terrain of the business. He is looking for corporate for you. You're also looking for somebody who can do music conversations for you. So I think that it's 2 things for me. People do not have money. They are shoving the work of the BM on artist manager and road manager with the reward of percentages. So you're forced to move from the role of an artist manager or a road manager to be the one going to offices to look for money. Because we don't have a BM, we can't afford a BM at that point.
That's often the case, but it's a very big mistake. Evolving roles are very difficult. Like you're saying, you have your normal manager, but because you can't pay an Olele's retainer, so Takashi, let's try and do it till we get some money. There's always the opportunity of leveraging goodwill. If you are worth your salt and your brand has that value, the business manager can right away know whether he's wasting his time or not. You might not always necessarily have to put an upfront payment or engage in a cash value retainer to get value from a service provider. If there's something to be battered. And most of our big artists are at the level now where if for some reason they say they can't pay somebody or something, I don't think there'll be a professional who will say, I won't do it because you won't pay me. Because it's kind of inevitable that the name Stonebwoy or Shatawale or Sarkodie will not get you that business meeting or that business pitch. And if you are a business manager worth your salt, you will close it. And there comes your commission. So for business managers, they understand that it's not money up front. Pay me, let me go and do work for you. A proper business manager would rather even want to do the work and get a percentage commission from $1 million deal than to get you to pay him $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
So it's about conversation. The mistake is that a lot of people think it's easy. Or Abib, some companies, you go talk to them and it's not that.
It's not
Often
that
they
at
think,
all. Yeah.
often they think it's because they are popular.
Okay. Let's just in the intro, because I just realized that 20 minutes is gone, and it's going to
just
get
said hello.
interesting. I know we just said hello. It's going to get interesting. Let's move from business manager to the security, which is a major conversation we want to have quickly this morning, and we are honored to have Blair Abu Safian, who's going to join us on the show. He's a cybersecurity engineering and lead red team specialist, also the founder of Inventec Global, international offensive security speaker and trainer as well, who's joined us via Zoom this morning to have a conversation on security when it comes to their engagement with talent. Blair, good morning. Are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Awesome.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Yes, we are great here. We are great here. Okay, so let me just first start off with, did you see the video over the weekend of how AKA, the South African rapper, was gunned down? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I saw it. And it was very disheartening. So I think, first of all, the question is, how did they get to know where he was? How were they able to locate him in order to gun him down? That was the first question I asked myself. So before he went there, or before he went out there, what the shooters did was they were actually monitoring his activities. They were monitoring his activities. How? Because I'm sure he was posting stuffs online, which made it possible for them to detect his location and then do whatever harm they wanted to do to him.
And that in itself is not wrong for someone his status to share where he is, and is that wrong, a wrong activity or act for an influencer?
Okay, so to the general public, it's not wrong, but when you come to security, it's actually a wrong thing to do. Why? Because assuming he never tagged his location or he never showed where he was, I'm not sure they would have gotten access to him in order to kill him. So when it comes to cybersecurity, it's a wrong thing to do. But to the general public, they don't see anything wrong with that.
So basically, his location that he shared prior to the incident is what possibly gave him up for this. I don't know if you've seen the video clearly as well, and what you make of the demeanor of the persons around him, and what you suggest that what you think that people should have taken into consideration, especially.
Okay, so it all boils down to the person himself. I don't blame the people around him. Yes, they were around him. He was the one using his phone for the recording. They can't prevent him from using or stop him from doing whatever he wishes to do. So I don't think the people around him had influence on what he should do at that time or that moment.
Key things should talents take into consideration with regards to security in general?
Yes, talent should take security very seriously, because let's say I'm an upcoming artist. For example, I'm an upcoming artist, and then I decide to showcase everything I do. So I go to this bar. I show my current location. I share status about myself. I go to a different place. I share location and all that. When an attacker, let's use the word attacker, or a malicious actor or a criminal wants to locate you, it becomes easier, because one, you posting status regularly gives them a trend or a pattern in your life.
But Blake, doesn't it make it look like
And then
doesn't it, if you sound as such, doesn't it make it look like it's wrong for the talent to do that? I mean, isn't it the work of the security team around to make sure that their talent is safe?
okay, so at that moment, the security he had around him were physical man guard. They were guiding him with force, but not cyberly. Not cyber. You know, having a cyber security expert and also having a man guard, they are two different things. So he had physical security with him, but then they don't have cyber security engineers with them or security professionals. And I think most of this talent don't really take security seriously.
When you mentioned
They don't take security
cybersecurity,
seriously. They feel like,
oh, no, sorry, go ahead, please.
go ahead.
So I know, okay, I was asking that
So
with.
I feel,
Sorry, because of the delay, I think we're having challenges. But let me ask, with regards to cybersecurity, with your expertise, are persons like you able to identify, stalkers online based on people's comments and activity on how they engage, talent and stuff? Are you able to detect such stuff?
that's a nice question. Yes, we are able to detect such stuffs. So for instance, as a security professional, I'm hard to protect my client. What we do is our client decide to post online. So when they post online, we are able to use specific tools to extract metadata or information. When I say metadata, I'm basically referring to information that you as the user don't see. But from the security perspective, we are able to use the right tools to find out information that the general public will not be able to see. So with those kind of tools, we are able to monitor and know who are the stalkers or who is monitoring our clients or the talent.
Cyril, Miss G, Olele.
I wanted to find out. I'm moving away from AKA's death, right? We are living in a time where everything we do is on the web. Every single thing we do. I mean, touch with someone who would even want to take a shower, and he's putting it out there. Somebody want to take a, and he's putting it out there. I mean, how do we separate ourselves from showing too much and giving out too much? Because with apps like Instagram and Twitter, I don't put my geolocation on Twitter for whatever reason, because maybe it's due to the education I've had, right? But Instagram is very easy to put your location. Oh, I went to this restaurant, and you put your location there. I went to that, and I put your location there. How do we, come out of this addiction of sharing where we go? I'm not saying don't take pictures. Some people even say that as part of security measures, when you go to a place, you post that place 4 or 5 days after. You don't post it dead. You don't post Some people even do it weeks after. What are some of the things we can do to avoid exposing ourselves a bit too much on the internet?
I think. Did you hear, Blake? Did you hear from Olele?
Okay, so the question was for me to
Yes,
answer.
yes.
How to separate, that lifestyle of constant and sharing,
Publishing,
putting yourself out there and taking into consideration the fact that it isn't everybody out there who's in for you rightly, if I can say that.
Okay, so never think nobody actually pays attention to whatever we do. We should never think that way. And then if you get a smartphone, for instance, we all know they normally use their smartphone for such activities. So from experience, if before you take a picture, they normally ask you, do you want to give the photo permission to keep track of your location? A lot of people do answer yes, but then you should always set it as no. because you wouldn't want to send your picture out there with your location embedded in it. So we should always make sure that the right settings are done on our phone.
Well, Blay, I think okay.
So we should
Question.
always
One question before he goes.
know.
So for instance, I have a place of work. I show up every day. I don't even have to show up. Share my location. People know that this is my place of work. How then do I even protect myself? So, this is where I work. I don't have to show a location. If I go to a restaurant, I don't have to share a location. If the restaurant's name is, I'm not sure that I stand to be corrected, but I'm not sure that AKA shared specific location. I think that they showed that they were at the Wishes restaurant.
Well,
Or the Wish restaurant.
He
Or
tagged
the restaurant.
The restaurant.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe that's a different case. So we are here, seated here, working every morning. People know that this is where we work. How are we even exempted from a thing like this?
Interesting. That's exactly what we're talking
You are
about.
not exempted. Because, for instance, with his case, he just mentioned the restaurant he was in. So what an attacker would do is, or what a malicious actor would do is, he would just go over to Google Map. We all know Google Map is for location, right? But we have something called the street view. The street view. So when you go over to Google Map, you can make use of the street view to find out, okay, this is a so and so restaurant. You can use the street view to navigate around the restaurant, know you'll be able to know the location of where a man guard could possibly be. You can also get to know how many entrances are in that restaurant. You can be able to tell the number of people that will be in the restaurant at that moment with Google Map Street View. So an attacker can gather all this information via Google Map, not necessarily knowing the exact or having the exact geolocation on, but with the name alone, you can narrow down the search with a Google Map.
Blay, thank you so much giving us insights into this as well. We'll definitely have you one of these days join us live in the studio. Blay Abu Sufyan, cybersecurity engineering and the lead red team specialist, joining us here to have a conversation on cybersecurity. Now we're looking, like we said, we're looking at the other various roles in there, and we can drill down deeper as well. We spoke about business manager. Let's see if we can also understand properly the role of the road manager in this case, because it's usually sometimes confused, or mixed up, or the business manager has got a cool role as a road manager, doubles up in there.
The road manager is a contractor. He just looks after the road.
After the road.
Guys, can we? So, observation, I just checked a bunch of Instagrams, right? It seems we have it twisted. When our celebrities, myself included, yourself and Miss Gio included, when we go to a nice place, we put it there because we want people to know that
We've been there.
we went to the nice place.
It's
I just checked Kim
influencer
Kardashian.
marketing.
I just checked the top 3 most followed Instagram personalities, and none of them put locations on, right? Because, of course, they have the teams, they have the security. Jay-Z and Beyonce spent
like you're saying,
$27 million on security. So these are things that they are advised not to do, because Beyonce has been to nicer places than we have been, and she hasn't put it there. If they wanted to know that she has been to restaurant A or B, they do that in PR.
Yeah.
The last month, Beyonce, blah, blah, blah. But we tend to want to do everything
and put it there.
At once, forgetting the vulnerability we are opening ourselves up to, and it's not even like we go home before we start posting.
No, there no.
You get it, and that's exactly what happened with.
I'll share an example with regards to how we take our security, sometimes lightly. So for me, for example, in one of the artists I was managing, when a certain country and for me personally, naturally, I'm afraid. So it means that I have to put security first. And I take certain things into consideration, like when we get to the hotel, I want to go and do a personal sweep in the room, regardless.
J Bond.
Yeah, J Bond.
Oh, Charlie.
J Bond. I look at key things,
001.
and I'm not just saying
001,
it because
001.
I'm bringing it down to. I'm using drills, so I'm bringing it down to the incidents that I'm talking about, and how the organizers took it when I opposed. I shared some concerns, and then they see you as these organizers will see you as you are
Yeah,
too
difficult.
known to deal with, and you are being difficult. But I'll tell you. So I do the sweep in the room just to be sure that I don't have any cameras or hidden devices or something, So I want to be sure that it is as it is. That's one. Number two, vehicle parking. Unless the place is asking for you to park, do park at will, I would always go for a reverse parking. So that in case of exit, it's easier.
It's easier.
Thirdly, if I go for an event, I always make sure that I park. I don't get excited with the fact that the guy is giving me a special parking to go and park somewhere, and when I come back and I'm looking for how to leave, somebody's crossed me. So I'd rather park far away from the scene.
Event.
So example, at the conference center, once in a while, I'll park inside. Once in a while. But most of the time, in fact, 99.9% of the time,
You're not parking inside.
I'll never park inside.
But you're walking through a stretch outside.
It's better for me to
Because-
have my vehicle far away from the scene.
Are you protecting your vehicle or you're protecting yourself?
No, so I'm not talking about...
I'm just asking because
it's both.
Because, you know, for me, most of the time, the fear is whilst you're walking, that stretch to wherever your car is parked,
Yes.
anything can happen to you.
So it's not parking too far away or too close, but you park within a certain perimeter that it should be, one, easily accessible. You understand? Two, reverse parking makes getaway very easy. Three, in case of any, God forbid, an explosion or whatever it is, and when you are exiting, it's very easy for you to be able to leave. So I take those things into consideration. So it brings us to the issue of what happened. We're in a certain country, and road manager. No, I was business manager.
yeah.
So I went
Elevated.
ahead of the sound check to check the venue. And when I got there, I realized there was only one exit and one entrance. And then secondly, the artist was going to perform away from the entrance. Where the stage was very far away from the entrance. So I asked them that why haven't they brought the stage close to the entrance? So it makes us exit easily in case of anything. Then they said, the guy started pleading that, Charlie, I understand, it's just the arrangement. But then I was like, no. Secondly, I don't see, from a guy coming out from an incident that happened in KNUST with regards to Miss Bell, there was no, even though it was in an auditorium, there was no barricade.
No rails.
Stage was, and I said, no, guy, we can't do this. But then my artist was like, let's let it pass. But I took it into consideration that in case anything happens in this room, we are far away from the entrance. We can't exit this place easily. The artist is the reason why people are here. So if anything happens to this artist, I don't have any insurance of any sort as I'm standing here right now. Aside from the travel insurance we don't have any insurance on our documentation. So if anything happens to this guy here, my name will pop up and I'll be dealt with. And questions like this will come up. Was he a qualified manager? Did he realize all these things? So it became, for about, I think, 30 minutes or so or plus, was a verbal, slightly offensive brawl between us that I feel the artist
You
wouldn't
and
go
the
on stage.
artist,
No,
or
me
you and
and
the
the event
organizers?
organizer. The artist can't go on stage until we have a conversation around this. So what they did then was to now get the police there. So the police came and arrived and were outside all through
Build confidence.
to build confidence because I was in a terrain that I wasn't familiar with. And if
But
anything
how
should
was the
happen-
artist? Was the artist at any point feeling that?
Yeah, at a point in time, he felt I was being too hard.
You're coming to
But, I mean-
deny him an opportunity to shine in that country.
not angry with me, but just like, hey, challenge you so my dear, let's just do this thing and let's get out of
That's,
here.
see, that's
Because
what
that's
what
the problem
But
is-
but it is me, and I felt like, you know what, I have to do it.
Jay, you know what I think?
We were in Ivory Coast, same thing, and for us to have moved from one point to the other, if police wasn't present, it was going to be a
So
problem.
imagine if the artist had more, I don't want to say clout. I want to say if he had power, more power than you. All what you were saying was trash.
Which is another conversation to have.
Because sometimes
What is the? Sorry to cut you. What
The
is
pedigree-
the organogram?
I think last week I asked, so who's the boss?
Who's the boss?
Is
The
it
guy you
artist?
hired or you?
Exactly. But I also think, based on what you're saying, I think it's lack of education and lack of orientation. And the artists need to see themselves as institutions, especially when they become brands. right? Because obviously, if a corporate body is coming on board, they are paying for your brand to activate some kind of.
Who is going to teach the artist that?
No, what I'm saying, I'm just saying that the artist should know that as you grow, there are certain things you need to learn. So you get, it's not just about giving us good lyrics and giving us good jams and whatnot. We also need you to be
Bro,
protected.
are you now
at the
offering advice?
No, I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm just saying that's why we're having this conversation, so that they would listen, because you need to, the same way you see the need to get someone to get you a gig, it's the same way you should see the need to also be educated about who you are. The same way we would invite people to come into our corporate institutions, come and do training for employees. You, the artist, should see yourself in that regard. And even ask your team members, Charlie, what can we learn? What's the new thing we can learn to protect the craft and push the craft forward? Because if you're not doing some of these petty things, we'll come and say the industry is failing us. But you make a part of the industry.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? You contribute to some of the things that we talk about in the industry. So if one person toes a line and is working, why don't we just follow that
I
line?
that space, because another experience too was at a certain event at a hotel here. And I not to say I'm the best security person, but I just like
J Bond 001.
001. I like to take it, it's a big deal for me.
We follow the artists, how to dress, how they walk, even how they display their arms and everything. But we don't learn that's my problem.
Two top government officials were talking. And I was standing behind one that I was slightly engaged in doing some work with. And I realized that there was a guy holding a camera. And standing a camera and filming, his content, because it was after the event. But for me, quickly at that point in time, I spoke into the ear of one of the political heads that, please tone down what you're saying. Whatever you're saying, just tone down it, because there's a camera person behind you. Because it's about what the person is going to pick. Whether it was a very light conversation or not, yes.
Out of all context.
And it comes down to the eye for these things. And that's why we have to, talents have to really engage professionals, especially when it comes to security, to take it, because half the time we are open.
But most of the time too, I think it's the issue of finance and how to split the cash. It's very difficult for them to see that Sika we echo something else other than them. Do you get? Because they see the story is my bread and a menya. So I for enjoy mine. But as part of your enjoyment, if you don't fix the departments of your home, and I keep saying home because I want to see artists or A-list artists or whoever you are, so far as you're able to achieve commercial success, you become an institution. So whatever is needed for an institution to run properly, you need to integrate all those things. Lest you become a casualty, you become a victim to some of these things we are talking about. Because how long should we keep coming back? Look, we are not the first people to have this conversation, but we are still seeing some of our artists lack in these areas. So it makes you wonder if we are more concerned about the artist's progress than the artists themselves. Because at the end of the day, all they want to do is just make some money, build mama a house, and chill.
Buy a beamer.
See, my
that was a good one.
for the security one, I wouldn't be so hard on artists, right? We as Ghanaians, period, we are not security conscious. Okay? If I were to ask you, those of us who saw the cleaner this morning, if I were to ask you what color top the cleaner was wearing,
Okay.
I doubt, even the people in production who were here with the cleaner, if I ask, you
But
didn't see
if
you had seen him.
I would have noticed.
Okay. He was wearing deep blue.
Are you
These
sure?
are,
Whether that is
I know what is
these are, no, these are,
I know what AC
and Lex Zakimbo were wearing.
Because you took interest in all of this.
I like that. Take interest. Yes.
No, all I'm saying is that we are not security
I can
conscious.
tell the colors of the
period.
ladies were wearing.
So expecting that lack of security consciousness to magically change just because the person is a celebrity or whatever is a stretch. We need to start from the whole Bodamo.
You come
Nita is
to-
in black
can you
skirt.
imagine?
Didi's in black top. Now he's in lemon green outfit. AC is
You know,
in blue, but
amazingly, I
don't know
can't
what
even
Ricky's
remember.
wearing.
I can't remember all the
can't
things.
He's in a turquoise polo with blue jeans.
The boys here, we can't remember them.
I can remember them.
It's crazy.
But we don't consciously do this. So we it's inshallah and vibes in Accra, in Ghana. God is with us, blah blah blah, all that. But the physical investment, even our cars, even who, like, you can't be the biggest artist and in Ghana and Yao is still servicing your car. You know?
He trusts Yao than
Why
anybody else.
do you trust Yao?
Because Yao will not steal from him.
Yao is the reason you get killed, God forbid. Yeah, it's the reason somebody will come and temper
I'm a
with your brake
mechanic
line.
from day one.
You understand? Because the moment you elevate, you are an award-winning artist performing outside,
Bro,
inside,
it
blah, blah, blah.
changes.
Take your car
To the next
to
level.
the right place. Let them have the waiver that this is what you are bringing your car here for. Let them sign on it. Tomorrow, if your brake fails, we
know
bring
who to
down the
look
whole
at.
company. You understand? But we take things for granted. I've gone to workshops and you see, your mind car self diesel. Like, hey, bro. Like,
let's come
yeah,
down.
like, Jay, don't laugh. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. I'm like,
So, are you saying that now that because once I was on television,
now you're on television, you
I-
can't take
I
your
should-
car to
I
Yao
can't
again.
to Yao again.
Why you what else you are doing with your car?
What he's saying is very
It's a legitimate point.
know
It's a
what
very
you
important
mean.
point. It's a legitimate point. Phone numbers.
He
All
takes his car to Yao.
Tell me I don't take my car to Yao. I don't take my car to Yao. I beg
So
you.
obviously, there are certain things that you can.
Yeah, is looking for me as we speak, and but you get what I'm saying. We take a lot for granted. Our phones. We just buy a phone from the guy who they run me phone.
Yeah.
No.
And the phone is tracked.
You don't know who they track you. You understand? Go to an MTN or a Vodafone or a Tigo and tell them, look, I need a postpaid plan. I need a device. I need a this. I need a that.
I didn't say anything.
See the
oh.
weapon, see the what?
I didn't say anything. Oh.
People,
Let them just be the judge. You see the way I didn't say anything.
today I fire.
Let something happen. These three
Let's go on.
armed
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These three
Elevating-
armed men. One armed men.
Miss G, shut up.
Okay.
Elevating
Quiet.
our status it's not just the blings and the nice flashy things.
Yeah.
It's protecting access to who you are and
Protecting
who
your
your
assets.
business.
So, which Ghanaian artists do we say likely have we seen to have the best security team around him?
Based on what happened at the VGMA, maybe I'll say Stone. Based on what happened, because there was somebody there, armed, ready to whatever.
The best security is
You
the
know,
one that is not seen.
so-
I would say
so-
SAC.
So for me, based on what happened that day, it means that the people who are around him, based on that, because that's what I've seen with my eyes.
reaction
The
from-
reaction
the
tells
reaction
that
time,
they are on a defensive. Like they didn't
Wait,
even care.
I don't remember. Were they in uniform or
They
were
weren't
plain
in
clothes?
uniform,
Okay.
but you don't know whether
Mufti.
they are
security or
exactly.
just-
But
okay.
what happened, and the reason I'm making reference to that is the way the guy was alert, saw somebody coming, felt the person was coming to
covered- I
attack,
remember he covered Stone.
and then covered him and gave him a pistol.
Yeah.
You know, that is a big deal. Like, how do you even go into such setting with that in mind? It means that always they are on the
Let me-
guard. They are on
But you know-
guard.
but
Let me
So
debunk what you
we
said.
cannot
Miss G.
say also for sure that the other people do not go around with that. But that's what I'm saying. Per what I saw
Yeah.
and how it happened, how reactive they were, and even the thought of like we are going into a space like this. There's likely for something like this to happen. So even when I'm going on the stage, when you're going on the stage, I'm going with you, just for cover. You understand? Because normally people
That's
go,
how deep
you
it
know.
gets.
So that's what I'm thinking. That's so
it's,
for
it's,
the
it's a
case.
it's a wild guess because
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm saying.
was
That
going
because
to
of what
ask-
I've
No,
seen,
the evidence you
that
provided
is why.
100%.
Yeah, because of what I've seen, that's what I will say. Because what I've not seen, I cannot see.
This is
Yeah.
what I'll say about that and why I say it's flawed. When the little I know, when you're protecting a high value asset, which would be Stone Boy, and there's an altercation or there's a risk, you evacuate the high value asset immediately. You don't give them a gun. If it was a vice president, if it was a president, if it was a Burna Boy, if it was a Davido, you don't give a pistol to Davido to join the fight and
shield
increase
him.
the risk. You shield him and evacuate him, and security takes the heat. So the error there, they might have been present, they might have been reactive, they might have been vigilant, but the error was when they took a weapon and handed it to the guy they should have been rushing to the backstage. That little glitch is the error. Where I say I know Saka has security, right? Especially when he's doing these public appearances. But the fact that we've never had an altercation, seen an exposure of excessive force, but his things
What
tend to
have you
run.
noticed amongst them that maybe makes
His stuff runs smooth. Saks, I pay attention to those things a lot. Saks entry
Did we
and
see-
exits
did we
are
see-
I was
apart
gonna
from
ask Olivier to share.
apart from
Your
affirmation.
experience.
I was just going to say that.
Global Blackstar Line
listen,
Festival.
Blackstar Line.
Sorry.
See, that's why I'm saying that. Usually, when he's making big appearances, his entrance and his exit are smooth. We can
So
agree
often
on
what
that.
happens is SAC has a convoy of vehicles. Right, it's not more than 3. I've not seen SAC.
Yeah, it's
convoy
not
more
a
than
huge
3.
convoy.
It's not a huge
2,
convoy.
3.
But there's always, and sometimes they like to camouflage the cars. When I say camouflage the cars, you may think SAC is in
He's
this
in the
car,
middle
but he's
or
not.
one-
That's what I have seen with my eyes. So it's often 3 cars, right? So one would think, oh, the main assets is in the middle, right? And SAC does not move out to registered cars. Okay, he doesn't. If the car is registered, he would blare out there, or he will cover the plate, or there's no
Oh.
plate at all. That was something I took notice of at Black Sherry's concert. It was a Range Rover, but SAC didn't come. He didn't come in a Range Rover, but he left with a Range Rover.
Oh wow.
Do you get it? So I was wondering whose car it was. I thought it was for Angel, or it was for, because when we came, we were looking for SAC. It was SAC or car we moved. But when he was leaving the Range Rover. When I came outside the first time, he wasn't in that car. So I thought that was a fantastic security. I don't know who
How
is
they
their security
engineered it,
consultant, but I feel like it's something that they do. It's that I have personally taken notice of. The unfortunate incident that happened at Black Silent, obviously, it's an issue of communication, because
That wasn't
gentleman-
a
But even
security.
that
The
one,
gentleman
even
had
that one, you could
instructions.
give it to them because he never stepped out of the car.
he didn't. And
So
yes.
it could also be another thing that
Yeah,
we have discussed,
he
that
stayed-
no
he stayed
matter
in-
what,
yeah.
stay where you
Stay in
are.
the car,
And
yeah.
so because he could have been the target. Let's say something happened. You see somebody cock the gun. So let's say something happened and he was the target. But in all of this, and this is my concluding remarks, like Cyril said, we are not even ready for this conversation. Look, if our artists begin to ask for details, event organizers will begin to complain.
That one is
They
like
will
that.
not be able to meet up.
I like
And
that.
then they'll say,
Well
oh,
said.
they what trend of what's the CRC or yes, and he's asking for these details for his security and blah blah blah.
That one is true,
That
man.
is a huge problem. The event organizers will say, oh,
I have
we
a-
are mobile.
I
We
have
don't
addition
we
to
don't
what you
have we
said.
don't have that money to get you this kind of security. Oh, Ghana, we are peace-loving people. And so, once we scan the people, you know what the question I asked you? Once you scan the people, so for instance, when you go for an event, it's assumed that the event is within a certain parameter. So they scan you go into where the event is happening. Who cares about the number of minutes you walk from where you park your car to where you're going to get scanned?
That's exactly what I was going to
Which
say.
a lot of things will happen. Now, when this issue happened at Kokoro BTL, or I've forgotten the name of the place, the security guy said they had a range
Yeah.
for their
perimeter.
protection.
Yeah.
So
Anything outside was none of
anything
their
out-
business.
so, so the conversation is even huge than we are having now. And it's not just about the artists, the event organizer, the people who own the places that we are going
Lizzie,
to have these things.
Not to
and all
catch you,
of that.
someone just drew my attention
Yeah,
to
we have 4
something. You
minutes
remember
left.
when the Stoneboy thing happened? You remember how SAC left the building?
Oh, people left though.
That's what. No, there was a particular shot of SAC leaving the building.
Oh,
That's what Cyril is
really?
talking about. Immediately it happened. I remember very well.
My brother, the ninja. Oh.
Angel and 2 guys just surrounded
They
SAC
shielded
and they,
him, eh?
and they escorted him out. And they were like, your man.
and
No,
let me-
but I remember
let me
the
go.
case of
I just
even
remember right
the foreign convoy that was the French ambassador.
ambassador,
I think the ambassador from UK.
Shatawale's good friend.
He's called Ian, eh?
No, was it Ian Walker? No, it wasn't Ian. No, it was
It was after Ian.
It was after. No, was it before?
Oh no!
Shatawale's good friend.
Oh, John DeMello's friend.
John Benjamin.
Yeah.
John Benjamin. Yes.
Was he the one there?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure it's not Ian.
no, it was
I think it was
no,
Ian Walker.
Charlie, press the
You need
computer.
to
I'll
check
check, I'll
and see
check.
if
I'll
we are
cross-check
correct. So it's one of
immediately.
these people. So
We have a minute
the
left.
way the people came to shield their people and took them out, even some of our own senior government officials had to seek security, refuge with these people's teams. So it's a huge conversation we are not even ready to have. And it's because we are lying to ourselves that we are peace-loving people. You see that question I was asking the guy, with that we come here every day. We are on TV, we are not even sharing our location. So somebody knows that you are here every morning. As to, when I leave this, you see, God is only God.
Please, we filmed this
One of the
earlier.
days,
I'm
you
not
will
here.
This is a pre.
You
It's
see-
pre-recorded.
You know,
Can't
you
you see the delay?
you see how sad it is, but it's also because we just keep lying to ourselves and we want to assume that it's true. That we are
it's
peace-loving
true.
people.
I mean,
But there's
I
a problem
walk
we
out
shouldn't
of-
be having still, which I want to land on before we close. The problem is that at event venues, then you've built 3-4 A-listers, and the crowd is going to be crazy. The artist should be able to drive in, get down, and walk into your venue without those crowds. I don't understand why we would have an event where you know that people are going to go crazy when SAC arrives, and then now SAC has arrived and people have covered his car and they can't even drive in to perform the show. You, the event organizer, need to at least consider the arrival of your talent.
I noticed that.
You get what I'm saying? Because every event you go,
The show,
the security men were.
we have to wrap it up now. A show happened at a stadium in Kumasi, one of the big shows, and when Shatta came, people already were so drunk lining on the park.
Oh, no.
I felt like the car was going to drive over them.
Oh, no.
We'll discuss that when we come back tomorrow. Well, we had a good time with you. Well, apologies that we couldn't exhaust the conversation in total, but we'll definitely bring a continuing part of this one as well. Same time tomorrow. My name is Jay Foley here with Serial Miss J and Olele. We are out.